r/AskReddit. Teachers of Reddit, what's the saddest thing you've heard a student say? I work as a paraprofessional for kids in grades K-5, and I kind of hop around from kid to kid and help wherever I can. A lot of my one-on-one students are special education or have learning disabilities, so my approach to working with them is being open to their interests and talking to them in between work. You'd honestly be surprised how well this works, just letting them tell you about their day or fortnight or their weekend. Now I have had issues with stuff like this with a few kids, but the one that sticks out to me is this boy in my 5th grade class. He has both learning disabilities and issues with emotional processing. He's a very large kid at 10 years old, taller than I am. One day I come into the room to find him sullen and quiet, and I ask him if he'd like to come out in the hallway and talk to me. At a bit of probing he told me that one of the kids in his class told him he should die, that nobody likes him. At one point he just whispers, "I just want someone to love me." It absolutely broke my heart. I struggle with feelings of not feeling loved myself, so I told him, "You know I love you, right? You're my friend and I always look forward to seeing you every day." We ended up taking a walk around the school just chatting to get his mind off things, and I told the social worker. Ever since then he's been one of my best students. Yes, he still doesn't want to do his work, but he's always excited to see me, and one day, when I came to class with a pulled muscle in my leg, he helped me walk to his seat and pulled out a chair for me. It's honestly one of the moments in my life where I feel I made a difference. Edit. Oh my god. Thank you for all the kind words and the silver. It's so nice to hear how happy this makes all of you. To me, I'm just doing my job by bringing kids up and giving them that positivity they also need. This really inspires me to continue what I'm doing, so thank you so much. Did a pretty standard scale drawing project where students measured and drew their bedrooms. A student drew squares along the walls, and when I asked what they were, he said they were the stove and refrigerator. Kid was sleeping in the kitchen. The fact that he drew these in a school assignment shows that this is normal for him, and that he has likely been sleeping in the kitchen his whole life just makes it all a whole lot worse. Do you know how the kid is doing today? Sadly, no, but that moment still lives with me. I changed the assignment the following year to have the kids design their dream bedroom after making a scale drawing of a room at school to avoid making kids have to expose their living situations. Edit. Thanks for my first silver, kind stranger. That right there is wonderful of you. Thank you for thinking of what it must be like for those kids and what they must go through when others find out, or fears around others finding out. Ex-wife taught 1st grade in a school district known mostly for trailer park crime. At Christmas, she had her kids write stories about the best thing about the holidays. One extremely impoverished kid wrote that he was excited that Santa was going to let him pick out a single box of cold cereal that would be his and his alone, and he could pick from anything in the grocery store. Mom was dead ass broke, working 2 jobs trying to make ends meet, and food stamps were the only way she could get her 3 kids a present. She played this up, and the kids got excited about this. My husband is one of 9 from a really poor rural Midwest family. They used to give the kids Pop-Tarts in their Christmas stockings. Not a whole box mind you, but a packet. Before there was any such thing as refrigeration or food stamps, it used to be a status symbol if you could give your kids oranges for Christmas. I was teaching media, journalism, podcasting, video editing, etc. to students in Southeast Europe who wanted to better utilize social media to share what was happening in their countries. Think Arab Spring. One of my students from Burma mentioned sleeping with her father. I pulled her aside to have her clarify. Her father sleeps in bed with her and her sister to make sure they aren't kidnapped overnight and sold into the * slave trade. Most sobering moment of my life. Damn, that is some heavy asterisk. I had a student who was diagnosed with leukemia, went into remission, returned to school. Shortly after, his sister was diagnosed with skin cancer. A few weeks later, his brother was killed in a RTA. One day he came to see me and just hung around my classroom door. I asked him if there was something he wanted and to come in. He walked in, sat down and simply said, "I just want it to stop. I don't know what I've done." Then he sobbed. We ended up crying together for the entire break. Absolutely heartbreaking. Forgive my ignorance, but what's an RTA? Road traffic accident. No need to apologize. I should have just typed it. A second grader told me that he was feeling weird and tired that day because he didn't sleep much the night before because people were shooting each other on his street, and his dad went out to see what was happening and didn't come back until morning. He was so worried he hadn't slept at all. Another student told me he couldn't take his ADHD medicine because his mommy sold it for food. I keep seeing all of these stories about food. My school does a little thing that isn't much, but definitely helps. Every Friday, kids with a low income is sent home with a sack of food, usually including water, juice, a can of tuna, a small bag of chips, raisins, and other small non-perishables. It's a way a kid can have a meal or two if they otherwise aren't able to. Where my daughters go, the cafeteria will feed any kid, even if they don't have money. The kids get a tab, and the parents pay on it. I asked about it. My daughter chose to eat at the cafe rather than her packed lunch once. And they said there's no cut-off limit. They'd rather lose money than a kid not eat. I was only sort of a teacher for 1 year. I worked at one of the national laboratories in the Bay Area, and as outreach we gave 2 science lessons each to all the schools in Oakland and Berkeley. On lesson 2 in one of the Oakland schools, from a 10-year-old girl who was clearly having trouble paying attention. "Sorry I wasn't here last time. My dad got shot." I said this when I was in middle school about my uncle. He's fine. A firefighter who got shot responding to some guy barricading himself in his house. Just wondering, was this person's dad okay in the end? I have no idea. I was only there to throw around some dry ice and liquid nitrogen and share some related insights. I was not equipped or trained for any kind of counseling, and really we only saw these kids twice for an hour each. I didn't think it was my place to ask her for details. I was assisting another class of first graders, and when they were dismissed one of the boys was slightly panicked and sticking to the wall. When I talked to him to figure out why, he informed me that his older brother had come to pick him up and that he was terrified. I called over the other teacher, and we found out that his brother was physically abusive when they were alone together. Of course, in light of this information, we couldn't allow him to leave with his brother, so we called the mother and waited until she could pick him up. I informed the mother of what her son had told us, and that was it. But I'll never forget how scared that little boy was. Many years ago I was teaching in a private school for children with emotional impairment and behavioral difficulties. I had a 6-year-old boy in class that had an upcoming court date about his rape by his mother's boyfriend. The rape happened when he was 4 years old. He looked at me with intensity and asked, "Do you think that the judge would let go into rapist's cell and beat him up? I'm so much bigger now, and I have been practicing. Oh, and after, could I live with you? Because my mom wants to live with him when he gets out of jail and I won't be able to live there anymore." My sister had a kid in kindergarten have a big breakdown seeing all the food getting thrown away after lunch on the first day. He had a bunch of siblings at home, and they were all hungry. It's the first time my sister cried at work. CPS was called and stuff happened. Food waste is a serious problem. Why do people keep throwing food away when they know other people in this world are starving? I don't mean those last few beans on your plate that you're too full to eat. I'm talking about the enormous quantity of food thrown away by companies because the foods weren't sold or didn't look normal, while those foods were actually completely fine to eat. It really makes me angry. I taught my high school students in China to write haiku. 5 syllables. I came across this one from an extremely pleasant and soft-spoken kid while going through what they handed in. Delete. My dad told to me, "Harry, now delete mum's number." Shut up. I will not. Harry, class 3A. Edit. Thank you extremely intelligent humans for pointing out the second line is 8 syllables. I'm fully aware. This is what he wrote and came from his here in mind, and that's what makes it special. Many of the haiku I got back that were full of mistakes were the most powerful / clever / hilarious. Also, you'd be surprised how hard it is to learn how to break down syllables coming from Chinese especially. It might help to know that 1. Each character in Chinese essentially boils down to one syllable when pronounced, but the way kids learn at a young age to form the sounds breaks them down into either 2 or 3 parts that string together in different ways. 2. In Chinese poetry, since each character is one sound and takes up an equal amount of space and rhythm, just the concept of words of different lengths having all sorts of variety in number of syllables throws them off from the start. 3. Harry had literally learned what a syllable was like 3 days before he wrote this. I'm a *ing idiot. The young man had just received his scores on his act. They weren't good, and he felt his dream of being a police officer were over. The kid is 17. Just go his life rammed by a stupid ass test. It makes my blood boil how much stock we put into the damn test. He's a joy to have in class. Spent all of his lunches with me going over content he didn't understand. Is well liked. Works 40 hours a week. Is a productive member of society. And is just an overall good kid. And a damn test says he's not good enough. I can relate. Straight as through high school. I took the *ing test 3 times. First 2 times my parents enrolled me to those ACT classes. I got a score of 20. They switched me to a private tutor. Again I study my ass off. If I wasn't working on schoolwork it was something with the ACT. My last score was 21. I was still able to get into a college. But I'm pretty sure it took me out of the running of the schools I really wanted to go to. I'm looking into going into grad school and purposely looking for schools that don't need a GRE score to get in. I'm sorry, I didn't take my meds today because mom sold them again. And is it okay if I stay in your room for lunch? We don't have any food in the house. I bought that kid bread, peanut butter, jelly and some snacks, and he made lunches and dinners for himself and his brother. I cried every night during that school year. Edit to at, thank you for unexpected gold. A lot of heavy stuff in this thread, but he made lunches and dinners for himself, and his brother really got to me. Thanks for looking out for these kids. His brother was in the grade below him, in the same school, and they were both of an age where you wouldn't typically expect kids to look out for each other, but they did. On Fridays he'd take the rest of the stuff home, so that they had food for the weekend. This was maybe 15 years ago, and I can remember that so vividly. Damn. He broke my heart. He was such a good kid. In my second year of teaching I had one of my 5th grade students approach me in almost tears and asked if I could talk to her outside our room one morning. I had a rough class that year, so at first I thought someone said something to her. Then she broke down and told me her stepfather had been *QALLY abusing her for a while and threatened to kill her, her mom and her baby brother if she told. I don't know what made her finally ready to tell someone, but I was so happy she did. The worst part though was trying to get her help right then. I remember trying to get our social worker, but she was out of the building, so I ran to my principal's office. I couldn't get in because there was a group of teachers arguing and being catty to each other because one girl got a baby shower thrown by our superintendent and the other one didn't. So they had been saying things behind each other's backs, and it was just dumbass drama. I was furious. I had a child who was having serious issues and they were concerned about a baby shower and who was the favorite. I'll never forget that. Fast forward to last year and I went to the middle school and saw her. She ran up to me screaming and crying and gave me the biggest and best hug I have ever received. She's doing great now. I have 2 from the same open university in an economically depressed area. With tears, can I please turn in my paper next week instead of next class because my brother just got convicted and they are asking for the death penalty. Poor kid. That's a asterisk of a lot to handle at 18. This was an essay on the topic of why are you here? The student, an older woman in a freshman comp class, wrote that she'd had her kids at a young age, and now that they were grown, she wanted to show them that she could still make something of herself. And even though her husband told her that he would leave her if she went to college, she came anyway. Thank God it was a diagnostic essay, because how the asterisk would you grade that? I just wanted to cheer and hug her. I was a secondary education major for most of college and worked at a bunch of schools nearby. At one middle school, there was a kid we'll call Jeremy. About 12 years old, black. Family was pretty broke. Smart kid, worked pretty hard, and took good notes. He was never involved in any of the problems around the school and never got in trouble for anything more than missing an assignment or two. Good dude. We were talking about their plans for the future, and Jeremy mentioned he probably wouldn't be able to go to college, but that was okay. He'd try to find a job before leaving high school. And when I go to jail, I hope it'll only be for a few years, so I can get back to work. Not if. When. With everything he'd seen in the world up to that point, it wasn't really a question for him. Not me, but wife. A couple years ago, a grade 3 kid whose birthday was coming up was saying how he didn't deserve a birthday, that he was a speck of dirt, that he was bad. It took a while, but my wife was able to figure out that when he was in grade 1 and at his birthday celebrations, his dad stabbed his mom. He had internalized this into somehow being his fault because it happened on his birthday. It was his fault that his dad was in jail and that his mom was so severely injured that she could no longer work. It was his fault that they had to move into a much smaller place. Really tough to hear. Kids should not have to deal with this asterisk. That's the thing with abuse. The child doesn't stop loving their parents, they stop loving themselves. For context, I teach English as a second language in HK for secondary students at a pretty weak school. At this point I'd only been teaching for maybe 5 weeks. I was teaching the Form 1s, 12 years old, speaking lessons, and one boy had a really good attitude to learning English, and so I thought he would make a great addition to the English ambassador team to help me out around school. When I approached him after class and asked if he wanted to join, the conversation went like this. Me, hey, name, would you like to be an English ambassador? Student, but my English not very good, sick. Me, it seems pretty great to me, and your attitude in class is excellent, and that's what's important. Student, but there are much, sick, students better than me. Me, I think you're more than good enough. At which point the boy starts crying, and obviously I'm quite shocked, and I'm just like, what's up? You okay? To which he just says whilst sniffling from tears, no one's ever said I'm good enough, they all told me my English was rubbish. That was heartbreaking for me to hear. He explained afterwards not only had his friends told him he was rubbish, but his teachers too. Heard just last week from behavioral/emotional support student. IA, me, wow. That's a pretty good score. Great job. Student, yeah, but I got % wrong. Mom's not gonna be happy about that. IA, but this is honestly a good score for you. It's over half. Student, I know. But whenever I tell her I got like 20 out of 30, my mom always says, but you still got 10 wrong. And I'm like, screaming in my head, why can't you be happy for me for finally getting a good grade? IA, heartbreaking. Well, if she won't say it, I will. This is an awesome score for you. I mean, this is a brand new concept the teacher just introduced today, and you rocked out this score after only hearing it once. You did rockin' awesome. The little smile they gave at that. Just killed me. This kind of stuff really s people up. My girlfriend had some really ty parents a bit like this. She will get 95% in a test at university and she will beat herself up about getting the 5% wrong. I feel like I can hear her parents' voices when she does it. It's hard to convince people otherwise when it's been so ingrained from a young age. This happened to me, and I know it killed my teacher because he was one of my former coaches and he came to my house to apologize for it. My dad died my senior year of high school and I missed a few weeks due to the death. Doing anything was a task, let alone school, but apparently he didn't get the notification. When I came back to class he said, "Hey Krampus, where have you been? Who died?" Kind of half-heartedly, and apparently I just had this sad emotionless look on my face and said my dad and left the class. He chased me down the hall and talked to me for a while, apologized over and over again, and I accepted because I knew he meant no harm at all by the LOL joke. He was nearly in tears because he coached me for a couple of years and knew my family too. He came to my house that weekend and offered to take me out and try to have some fun with his family, which his brother was my age too. I miss that teacher. He was and still is a great man with an ill-advised dark joke. Yikes, he really chose the wrong word at the wrong time. He seems like a good guy with his heart in the right place, but damn, that must have been a wake-up call for him. Hope you are doing better now, my friend. I've been an ESL teacher online for Japanese people of all ages for around 6 to 7 years or so. I had a favorite student. Sweet, nice older gentleman. Loves to talk about his favorite anime shows with me to practice his English, and likes to ask about what I drew during the week. I'm an illustrator. One day, he contacted me out of class hours, which was against the company's rules, and left me a message with the context of, *, dear teacher, I always look forward to our classes and I have been very happy whenever we talk. I know you've become more popular and other students have requested for your classes, so we cannot talk as often as we used to. I know I'm only one of the many people you teach English to, but you have been so kind to me during our classes and I feel like we have become friends. I'm afraid to say that I will no longer be taking your classes anymore as I'm contemplating suicide. I've been so depressed lately and I no longer know what to do. Against company protocol, I contacted him as soon as I saw the message and begged him to tell me his mailing address and told him to wait until my letter comes. I wrote him a very long letter of why he shouldn't do it and also sent a lot of my art prints and stickers to hopefully cheer him up. He responded after some weeks and said that it truly helped him clear his mind. We are still friends to this day and he sends me pictures of his pet rabbits from time to time. Edit. Thank you for the nice messages. I'm a bit shy to respond to some of them because English isn't my first language and I do not know as much slang as I wish I did. But his favorite anime, and now mine as well, is Natsume Yujin Shou, Natsume's Book of Friends. It's very heartwarming and wholesome. Edit 2. Thank you so much to the nice people who gave me a gold. This wasn't necessary but so kind. I'm in tears. I didn't expect so many people to read it, but I'm glad it has made a nice little impact in your hearts. Gentleman Sandid sent me back something for the letter and art prints. It was a life-sized Nyanko Sensei plushie that helps me sleep better at night. He also has a hamster named Nyanko Sensei and he eats a lot. Edit 3. 3 silvers? Thank you so much, really, and for all the nice comments. I'm so sorry for not replying to all of them, but they're also uplifting.